Welcome to Supply Chain Tech Podcast with Roambeat. In this episode, we speak with Balaji Jayakumar, the Chief Operating Officer at MaxQ. MaxQ was recently recognized as winner of the 2020 DHL Life Sciences and Healthcare Innovation Challenge. Balaji shares some of the challenges in pharma and life sciences packaging industry, the risk of getting condition monitoring wrong, and the role of real-time IoT-based asset monitoring for condition monitoring and compliance. With all eyes on the logistics of vaccines throughout the world today, we're going to discuss Balaji's work with MaxQ and how they are playing a role in improving pharma cold chain logistics integrity. Balaji, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Scott, thanks for having me. Appreciate that.
So you come from a strong research background developing high-strength materials. Can you tell us about your professional journey going from a researcher to building MaxQ?
Yeah, my graduate school days, my PhD, my master's were all on developing high-strength materials for high-impact applications. So mostly worked on body armors and honeycomb materials for lightweight transport applications. In 2012 is when me and my MaxQ co-founders, we came together and we wrote a proposal to NASA proposing a lightweight material for developing CubeSat satellites. So they were looking for a highly insulating thin material for putting them in space. We went and approached NASA and requested funding. We did not get funded, but we got some good feedback saying this kind of material has good applications in the life science industry. And then and that's kind of the first trigger point where we started this journey into the life sciences market with this high-end insulation materials. And fast forward now, been in the industry for about 8 years, and MaxQ is currently serving about 450 hospitals here in the US, and about 10 blood centers, and we're also serving different customers across the world in Canada, Ireland, Japan, and so on and so forth.
Wonderful. So what were the challenges that both you and NASA saw in the pharma and life sciences industry around packaging, and why were they hard to solve?
So the life science industry revolves around two things mainly. One is product safety, and the other is patient safety. So there is a lot of other things the industry is looking into. For example, packaging efficiency, efficiency of cost, efficiency of logistics, and so on and so forth. But in essence, all that we're trying to do is to protect the products the best that you can while being efficient. And the problem is the industry, in some sense, is stuck with age-old packaging. For example, if you take the blood supply chain, typically people are using beverage coolers by throwing in wet ice and ensuring that the blood is going to be cold inside. It may not be the most precise way of keeping blood in temperature. For example, blood products have to be in a certain precision range. For internal use, it has to be 1 to 6 degrees Celsius. For transport, it's 1 to 10. In some cases, it's 2 to 8. So the margin of error is significantly less. It's really important for us to tailor a solution that is more scientific, validated, and proven. And that's where we saw the opportunity, and then we started providing validated turnkey solutions for temperature sensitive biologics.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned in the intro, you won the 2020 DHL Life Sciences and Healthcare Innovation Challenge against some pretty formidable competition. What do you think about MaxQ's innovation stood out from the crowd?
So this was a competition that went on for about a month or so. I believe they started with a large group of global companies, and then it boiled down to 16 semifinalists and then 4 finalists, and we emerged. First of all, we were competing with a fantastic roster of fellow competitors. Really good technologies came from all around the world. Our proposal was focused on a serious problem. So we were focused on two things: improving temperature control logistics, and then improving visibility and data. Right. So these two were the central theme, so to speak. So what we were proposing to in this challenge was dynamic energy prediction, which facilitates the ability to apply machine learning and accurately quantify and trigger progressive actions. Now, the premise of this is to optimize and automate the temperature control supply chain. So, for example, our patented MaxTrace platform can alert and accurately predict the viability of a temperature-sensitive biological shipment when it is exposed to diverse ambient environments. So the innovation basically comes from providing not just payload temperature, but calibrating the signals for real-time ambience.
Okay. So as part of a journey of pharmaceuticals throughout a cold chain, what type of events or excursions might they be exposed to, or what is it that's causing problems that you're trying to solve for?
So if you look at a typical shipper, they are validated against lab standards or lane-based data. For example, you might have heard of a 3-day shipper, a 4-day shipper, or a 5-day shipper. Now that number comes from a certain set of lab-based validation or lab-based qualification or lane-based data around which the shipper can perform. Um, and and in reality, that's not the case, because you have so many external real-time events that you may not be able to qualify or that you may not be able to predict. For example, a package being left in a tarmac, that might deem the product to go out of temperature, or an unexpected flight delay, or somebody forgot to turn the data logger or put the data logger in. So there's so many different things that could go wrong. So even the state-of-the-art packaging solutions currently in the industry uses a combination of insulated shippers, data loggers, and GPS asset trackers, and combine them together to ensure and look at data throughout the journey. Now the problem is these are segregated information from 3 different pieces. So this causes information silos, because the supply chain is so complex that you want to keep all of the cold chain stakeholders informed and give them the ability to make decisions in real time. So this was a big disconnect, and our goal was to integrate this whole thing and bring every stakeholder together seamlessly.
So you mentioned automation and visibility as part of it. How much of an improvement is automating over some of the more manual processes that are required?
That is significantly important, because in this day and age, especially with the most recent pandemic, it is very evident that we are going towards a contactless supply chain, or at least that's the goal. That's where we envision the future to be. 2 things. One, you want to have the ability to have the right tools and data to intervene when you have to. The other important thing is to not intervene when you don't have to. So I think giving the user or giving the stakeholder these 2 tools are significantly important. And that's where we come into the picture, because if you look at this general decision-making process, decisions are made based on payload temperature. If the payload temperature is going above or below a certain threshold, then you are being triggered to take action. And that may not be the right way to look at it, because that's unilateral binary information that doesn't really give you the full picture, because that temperature is affected by so many different things that's surrounding it. So that's where we said, instead of just looking at the payload temperature, we provide you what's called a thermal energy. So using our proprietary platform, we can show you the amount of thermal energy remaining in a shipper before your payload can go out of temperature. And we can do this in real time. Think of your cell phone battery. Your cell phone battery shows you the amount of charge left before you have to go and charge your cell phone. Or your fuel tank in your car, that shows you the amount of fuel left, you have to go back and refuel. Our technology is similar. We want to show you the thermal life of a shipper, showing you the amount of thermal energy left before it can go out of temperature. Now, we're not just showing you the thermal life, we also want to show you the time remaining before the payload can go out of temperature. So you have a window before you can do something about it.
This thermal life algorithm, is this applicable only to your packaging, or can it be used with other packaging as well?
It's modular. It can be used with other packaging, other types of shippers, and that's the best part. So we can take any shipper out there and then adapt it to our technology. And all we need to know is a bunch of shipper properties We want to understand the lane, we want to understand the geographic location, and using a combination of all these things, we can provide, we can make any shipper into an intelligent shipper.
Great. You mentioned in the Innovation Challenge webinar that you're working with Rombi. What is that Rombi is bringing to the overall solution for your customers?
Yeah. Rombi has been a fantastic partner, and we went through this whole developmental process with Rombi as our partner, and we are very excited to work with Rombi. They bring the IoT sensor platform to us, so they are providing us, signals that we need. For example, measuring the temperature and location. Those would be the bread and butter of what we're trying to offer. In addition, we also have the capability of offering tilt, humidity, altitude, shock, all of which are important properties and parameters that's going to help us evaluate and assess the real-time status of payload. And having the 21 CFR Part 11 compliance on the software on Rombi's platform helps us provide the chain of custody, and having FAA approvals with multitude of different airlines is also very helpful.
Right, it's good to hear. Okay, how much of what your customers are looking for is an improvement in efficiency versus compliance driven?
It's a combination. It's a combination of improving efficiency and also staying compliant. I think compliance comes first. Your primary goal is to make sure, especially if you're in the pharma or a clinical trial world, you want to make sure you're following the FDA regulations, and you're making sure that all your products, shipments, and packages are all in compliance with the guidelines from the FDA. And that's the most important piece. And that involves, making sure you have chain of custody, making sure you have, you're recording and measuring temperatures, you're recording and measuring all the necessary parameters. And the next phase is, of course, efficiency. How efficient are you both in terms of packaging and logistics? So efficiency comes from both, cost and size and space. So if there is a way for you to ship, 3 boxes instead of 5 boxes with a more compliant and more effective packaging solution, that's probably efficiency right there for you. And the one thing that the future of this industry is going in the direction of also visibility and data. So besides just the compliance and efficiency part of it, now visibility is also becoming a piece of the compliance now, because very soon you're going to have regulations, or you're going to have recommendations to have complete visibility of your package in every leg of the supply chain. Because irrespective of which logistics or which path you use, your box is going to go through a bunch of waypoints, a bunch of touches that has to happen for your box or a shipper to go from point A to point B. It is really important for you to reduce the user error and reduce the number of touches.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so beyond just the technical specs of your packaging, of your algorithms, clearly it's been vetted and shown to be successful by your company doing well and winning this challenge. But what other aspects of your solution do you bring value to your customer beyond just the technical aspects of?
So we are very adaptable with respect to providing customer solutions. So our innovation came from customer requirements. So we had a series of different customer interactions in different stages of the life of our company. And then we realized that the most important problem, or the most important pain point the industry is facing, is user error. So, switching on and switching off a data logger, and then, moving data aggregation. So the user error was the central pain point that we were trying to address. And one way to address that was to kind of go to the root of it and see, okay, how can you make this a contactless supply chain? And futuristically, just envisioning how can you automate the cold chain supply chain in general. So, and that's where the innovation came forth. And one thing we are very cognizant about, and we're doing consciously, is we don't want to just show you visibility of the problem. We also want to come in and close the loop. So for example, by showing the thermal life of a shipper, we show you the amount of thermal energy remaining, using which we also show you the amount of time remaining before your payload could go out of temperature. So what can you do about it? So because we have control of the shipper, because we know how the shipper behaves, we have ways to maximize the thermal energy in the shipper. It could be something as simple as throw the shipper in a freezer at minus 20 degrees Celsius for 24 hours, and you have a charge for the next 5 days. It is something as simple as that. And this is an information that we control, and then we can provide and distribute this information to the different stakeholders. It could be a logistics provider, it could be your customer, it could be you. So we have the capability of sending customized alerts, triggers, and notifications so that you can maximize the thermal energy. So we provide you end-to-end preventive and corrective action that is also FDA auditable. So long story short, adaptability is what we bring. We are very flexible to work with customers. It's not a solution that we're trying to kind of push, but we want to work with the customer to understand exactly what's going on and provide the total best solution. There may be customers who may not need the shipper. They probably already have a shipper, and all we can do is to come and onboard the intelligence in their shipper. But there are probably customers who are looking for, a turnkey solution. And we are also set up to be this one-stop shop, providing efficient, the whole 9 yards to them.
Do you think today's environment with eyes of the world on vaccine logistics, that this is going to increase the demand for your services?
I think so. I strongly believe so. And we are seeing a lot of traction happening over the most recent times. And it's what is missing in the market is the best way to integrate these technologies and provide it in a way that it's useful to the customers. So one of the hesitations that customer have is, which is, adapting to a new technology. It's going to have road bumps. It's going to have, roadblocks, things of that nature. So we want to be as seamless as we can in our offering. So catering to the problem of the customer rather than catering your solution to the customer, I think that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And especially after this pandemic and the kind of issues that this has caused, like I said, the supply chain is going contactless. At least that's where the future has to be focused on, and that's where the automation has to be. So our goal is, in the future, every shipment or every box has to be autonomous. So the box has to raise its hands and call for help, and we should be able to send automatic triggers and notifications to the stakeholders to take care of it and maximize the energy.
Very good. All right. Any final thoughts you'd like to share about how pharma companies can make their cold chain future ready?
Yeah. So one of the things that we focus on at MaxQ is, providing simple solutions that are seamless. Simplicity is one thing that we focus on all the time. And then we're also since we're providing data, we're providing intelligence, we're also highly focusing on reliability of our data. So the healthcare supply chain, the pharma world, it'll be driven by, a couple of things. One is intelligence, the other is integration. And, our innovation hits the core of, these two things, especially with the recent pandemic. The clinical trials are becoming more decentralized. It's demanding not just packaging solutions, but more smarter, intelligent packaging solutions.
Sure.
So, CROs and CMOs, they all have visibility to the point of care levels, but, we also want to ensure logistic partners, the 3PLs, they're all integrated with the packaging providers, and MaxQ's intelligent core systems, so that you're not only predictive, but also prescriptive in providing solutions. And this is going to result in, ultimately result in product safety and patient safety.
Great. Well, thank you, Balaji, for sharing the innovative work that MaxQ is doing in your technologies. It's great to hear how smart packaging combined with your algorithms and real-time condition monitoring are coming together to help build a safer pharma supply chain. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you.
Scott, thanks for having me. Appreciate the time.
Take care.
Hi, my name is Scott Mears, and I'm one of the hosts of the Supply Chain Tech podcast with Roamby. On this podcast, we talk to supply chain heroes from around the world about everything, ranging from the disruptions related to supply chains, their personal experiences with tracking technologies, strategies to build resilience, and much, much more. We already have some recommended videos for you to the side of me, and if any of this sounds interesting to you, do subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss another Roby video. I'll see you next time.